Are we being missold fuel at the pump? This is the big question. We have just finished our oil tests, which you asked for. So now we are moving on to fuel. What do you think the answer will be? Are we being missold? So the plan for this test is going to be, we are going to take 5 litres of fuel from various fuel stations to see if we are actually getting 5 litres or are we being missold, people. It is as simple as that. Now, for the test, if anyone who has watched our previous video where we did the oil tests, we measured this by volume of water per litre, which we know oil is lighter than water, but we wanted to see in terms of how accurate this jug was. So this will play a part in this test. So when we consult our friend at ChatGPT, it has said on here that obviously fuel is sold by volume, but density changes with temperature and formulation, so weight will vary slightly. So I just need to point that out for the test. Now the plan for the test is going to be, we are going to be using the E10 fuel, which I think is typically in the UK 95 RON unleaded fuel at 15 degrees Celsius, and we should typically see a 0.745 per kilo per litre. Real world range, it does say on ChatGPT, we should see between 0.72 and 0.77 kilos per litre at 15 degrees. Now the good thing is, as I scroll down here, it does say that fuel density will expand or contract at a rate of 0.1% per 1 degree Celsius. So we will apply that formula to this test when we measure the temperature of the fuel. So the plan will be, we are quickly going to weigh the utensils that we will be using in the test, so we have a base to start with. So the fuel can here does have a bit here where we can actually see 1 litre, 2 litre, 3 litre, 4 litre, 5 litres of fuel, and this is completely empty. So what we're going to do first, we are going to weigh this container using the same scales we used for the oil test. And I will tear the scales and we are going to measure an empty fuel can to start with. So we have 395 grams, are we saying? We're calling that 395 grams. So we will add that to the spreadsheet that we'll be putting for this test. So we've got 395 grams. We will tear it again. And I'm going to measure this jug, because when we last measured this jug for the oil test, it weighed 371 grams. So I'll allow that to rock back and forward. So we are consistent with our measurements. So we've got 395 grams on there. I'm actually going to write on there what these weighed. So what did we say on here? This was 371 grams, yeah? So we're going to write on here 371 grams. Really hard to write on this. Empty. So we know we've got 371 grams empty. We're going to quickly measure this completely empty. As you can see, we are completely empty. Completely empty. And we're going to measure this. So we have got a consistency on weight. Right, there we go. So we have got 394 grams empty. So we're going to write on here 394 G empty. See that? And I'll just make sure that we are at that, because now I've written on it. There we go. So 394, we're happy that is correct. So we have got 394 grams of empty fuel container, and we have got the main jug, which we will pour into. We know that these lines here marry up with a volumetric for water, which we understand fuel is lighter, oil is lighter, but in the grand scheme of things of just getting an idea of where that sits in there. Right, so what are we going to find, people? This is really interesting because the amount of people that have messaged me, you've got to try this fuel garage. I knew we weren't getting what we were supposed to be getting. So on to the first fuel station. It is a local garage of ours. I'm going to have to do it sort of a bit covert. I won't be using the phone, so there'll be no phones used at the pump. I'm going to go across to the Ray-Ban glasses and the wife will be on the normal camera, so there'll be no phones used in this test, people. So we will go and dispense 5 litres. I'm going to take a calculator with me because I'm going to use their pence per litre. We're going to multiply that by 5. I'm going to dispense 5 into here. We're going to bring it back to the workshop and then we are going to see if we are getting what we have paid for. What do you reckon, people? Right, so we are on our way to the Asda fuel garage. The one we're going to be testing is the one at Bobbin in Kent, Sittingbourne. We don't know what we're going to find. I have got the 5 litre green jerry can that we weighed empty, which was 394 grams. So it's going to be really interesting to see what we find. I'm going to be using the Ray-Bans, so there'll be no phones being used in this test. I'm going to work out what the pence per litre is, times it by 5, and then we will dispense that into the can and then go back to the workshop and weigh it and see what we get. I will also have a receipt for the fuel, so you will see how much we paid for the fuel and how much per litre and how much we dispensed. I'm hoping that I can do it without like going over a penny or something like that, because this is going to be the hardest test. Some of these pumps are really difficult to get exactly on the dot. So we are going to try. Hopefully our first test we can dispense 5 litres. We don't know what we're going to find, so yeah, we will film going into the petrol garage so you can see how much it is per litre, and we will film me dispensing the fuel so there is no denying what I've dispensed because I'll be on the Ray-Bans. Right, let's record going in. Right, we're just pulling up into Asda. Right, so what we'll do, we will pull into here. I want to try and be as far away as I can so they don't suspect anything that's going on. Right, let's see what we've got here. Right, people, so we can see on here that it is 134.9 per litre. Going to be using the E10 standard fuel. I can't see anything on here that tells me what the tolerances should be, plus or minus. It does say here though that you can only fill 2 times 5 litres or 110. They must be approved. This is an approved can. So let's do the first test. Okay, so let's see if we can do 5 litres exactly. A bit too confident there with the there we go. Make sure there's literally nothing coming out of there. As you can see, look, nothing. So we go back into there. Exactly what we said, at £6.75 for 5 litres. Let's have a look to see. This is going to be interesting to see, because if you were looking at that jerry can right now, can you see it's wobbling around? That is way under what the 5 litre says. So showing under 5 litres there on there, look, but we don't know if we're on a flat surface.
Yeah,
so we will see, but you can see this, people. 134.9, 5 litres, £6.75. This is so funny. I feel like a criminal. Will you take the microphone? I'll go and pay for the fuel so everybody knows what we paid for, but I feel like a criminal. But this is the Asda Express, as you can see, people, in Bobbin. Don't really want to get run over by this guy. Let's see, let's go and pay for the fuel. Right, so as you can see here, we've got 5 litres of fuel at £1.34.9, £6.75 dispense. Time and date, that is where we are in the fuel garage. So let's get it back to the workshop and see what we've been dispensed. That is us back from the fuel station. So just to give you a quick recap on how we normally do these tests, we have got a temperature gauge, and I believe in here it is probably sitting around about, I don't know, 11 degrees maybe in here, Celsius. We've got the spirit level, so you can see that everything is nice and level. We've got the precision scales. But one thing I did notice when we was at the pump, that when we put this in here, it'd be really interesting to see, I know it's moving around a little bit at the moment, if this is obviously accurate as a fuel jug, which we know they never are, because when we checked our one, it started off below, and then by 3 litres, it was already above. But that is, like I say, a water measurement. This is probably something similar, but as I look here now, that is way below 5 litres. What will we find? I'm going to weigh it with the fuel, and we know that this weighs 394 grams without anything in it. So as you can see, we've tared the scales. Let's see what this weighs now at 11 degrees. Interesting stuff. So we are allowing that to stabilise because the fuel is moving around inside there, and it is moving around a fair amount, but that is just starting to stabilise now. So we have got 4.064 kilos. So according to ChatGPT, it says we should see real world range of 0.72 to 0.77 kilos per litre. So if I just take an average of, say, the lower end, 0.72, times it by 5, we should be seeing 3.6 kilos. So let's see, when we pour this into the jug, where it gets to. The jug is going on, and we know that it's around about 371 to 372 in terms of weight. We're going to tear the scales. So we are back to 0, and guess what I'm going to do now? We are going to start pouring the fuel in, because we can see here it's way below the 5 litres, but we're not going to know until we start pouring. What are we going to find, people? 3 litres, 4 litres. Well, have a look for yourself, people. Have a look for yourself. That is absolutely on 5 litres. So, first test done. 5 litres dispensed. Well done, Asda. Just down the road. Let's move on to the next fuel garage.